The fluorescent lights at County General buzzed like they were tired of holding themselves together as I slid down the hallway wall at 11:47 p.m., clutching a paper that said Stage 3 and a number I couldn't even picture. $85,000, 2 weeks to set up a plan, or my mom's treatment would stall. And somewhere between the vending machine and the elevator, my phone pinged with a rent threat, pay by Friday, or eviction starts Monday. So I did what people like me always do. I swallowed. The panic kissed my mom's hand, told her I was fine, then took the last bus across town and said yes to a night shift. I had no business saying yes to cleaning the skyscraper. Everybody calls Blake Tower because when you're counting quarters for coffee, you don't say no to double rate. You know what I mean? I hit floors 30 through 59 like a ghost vacuum, trash wipe, keep moving. And at 2 in the morning I reached the top level. The guard told me to avoid door cracked, light spilling into the hall like it was calling my name. I knocked, no answer, pushed in and stepped into a boardroom where 5 suits stared like I'd tracked mud across God's living room. And behind the desk was Christopher Blake, the face from magazine covers, sharper in person, voice cool enough to prick your skin. "Who are you, the cleaner?" I said. "Your regular called in, I can come back," one guy said. "Security," and I said. "Or I'm a tired woman doing her job, so her mother can get chemo, yeah." That happened. The room went quiet, and he looked at me like something on a microscope slide and said, "What's your name, Natalie?" Then he dismissed the room with a single look, asked how long I'd been working since 6 a.m., and after a beat that felt like a test, he said, "Clean the office, be here at 9. Ask for me, I have a real job for you. Better hours, health insurance that will cover your mother." I wanted to laugh and cry and faint at the same time, but all I said was yes. Then I cleaned his office like salvation was hiding in the baseboards, walked out into a sky turning gray, and felt that dangerous flicker I hadn't felt in months, hope. At 9 a.m., I came back in my thrift store dress that still smelled like diner coffee, made him a black coffee with shaking hands, watched him negotiate in Japanese with men I'd only ever seen on TV, and when he offered me a full-time roll company apartment, 3 blocks away, benefits starting immediately. I tried to say, "I can't accept this much," he said. "Accept the gift, do the work, don't invent strings that aren't there," and that afternoon, the hospital called authorization, approved chemo, starting tomorrow. Private room, my mom's voice on the phone shook when she said, "Baby, how did you do this?" And I said, "I got a job, a real one." And for the first time in months, I slept without counting bills in my head. Days fell into a rhythm that didn't feel like drowning. Coffee at 7:25, Tokyo call. At 7:30, note-taking in meetings where board members measured everything in profit. And Christopher answered in people. One guy, Richard Townsend, kept grinding at him about wellness programs and community budgets. "Shareholders don't want daycares," he said. "Shareholders want sustainable growth." Christopher said, "Healthy employees show up. Trained employees don't quit." It's arithmetic, and when we toured the production facility on the edge of the city, I watched workers straighten when he asked about their families by name, stopped by the clinic to thank a nurse who caught a cancer early. And I thought maybe all that steel in his voice wasn't for domination, maybe it was for guardrails then. One night he led me to a rooftop I didn't know existed, a garden tucked above the city noise, and said, "It's for employees, but when your mom is strong enough, bring her here, fresh air." "Helps," I stared at him, at the tomatoes fighting the October wind, and the word that kept trying to crash into my mouth was kindness. Of course, nothing stays quiet when a billionaire is involved. A tabloid posted our photos leaving the gallery, eating on the roof, walking toward my building, with a hand at my back, like he was making sure I didn't disappear. Headlines called me the mystery woman. Comments pretended I couldn't read. And his ex, Veronica, showed up at a charity gala and tossed a line about playing with the help, while cameras flashed like fireworks. He didn't blink, there is no us. Please respect that, but the damage had a way of spreading. People started watching me on the sidewalk like I was a glitch in their map. And right when the noise was loudest, his rival Thomas Mitchell started buying up shares through shell companies, whispering hostile takeover. The board's patience got thin. Some of them wanted him to step aside. Some of them wanted me gone, and I offered to resign because the thought that I could be the thing that cost people their jobs made me feel sick, he said. Absolutely not. I hired you because you add value. We're not going to pretend otherwise. Then he paced to the windows like a caged thing and said he was losing the company he built. And I said, then fight. But not with prettier spreadsheets, with people. Show Horizon Retail, the daycare, and the clinic. Let employees talk, prove that your way pays off in ways a discount never can. He stared at me, smiled in that quiet way he does when something hits bone. And 2 days later, we walked buyers past a line of machines into a circle of names. Rosa the server spilled water on the lead executive's sleeve and nearly cried. And Christopher said, "Hey, breathe. You're all right. Accidents happen." And I watched the decision-maker clock the way his voice softened when he talked to people who weren't in suits on Friday morning. Horizon picked us not because the numbers were worse, but because the people were better. And that win should have been enough to calm the sharks. It wasn't. The smear campaign twisted anonymous sources, said I'd been coerced, that my promotion was hush money. Reporters called the hospital, trying to get to my mom, and the board called a private meeting that ended with a suggestion that he put distance between us or step down. My chest felt like a fist, and he stood in his office with the city behind him and said, "I'm not abandoning someone because it's convenient." So we did the only thing that made sense in a world addicted to rumor. We told the truth, scheduled a press conference, stood shoulder to shoulder under lights that make you sweat. And he laid out everything. How we met the ethics walls, how I'd be moved out of his reporting chain. Comp set by committee, annual review by outside counsel, paper trail you could climb. And then he did the thing nobody expects from a man with his net worth. He talked about values like they were part of the balance sheet, minimum wage, up to 25 education fund, expanded, clinics in 10 more cities, not for headlines, but because it is right and it is smart. And when they asked if I was using him, I said I have my own salary and my own receipts. When they asked if he coerced me, I said no. He asks the same thing of everybody, show up and tell the truth. And after the cameras shut off, there was nothing to do but wait for a vote that decides futures. Monday, 10 a.m. Jennifer stepped in with eyes that finally looked like they'd slept. Shareholders chose steady hands, 73%. To keep current leadership, Thomas's bid rejected. I let out a breath that felt like a year. Christopher closed his eyes like someone had lifted a building off his shoulders. And the man who doubted me most, Richard, surprised me with a grudging nod and a recommendation that I take an advisory seat on community and workforce outcomes, arm's length independent. Not because he loved me, but because results changed his mind. And that's fine by me. I don't need adoration. I need respect. You think that's the end, tidy bow ride off into the rich person's sunset. Not exactly. The photos still exist. The whispers still happen. Power and love in the same sentence will always make people itch, and I get it. There are lines you don't cross. There are stories that go wrong. But here's what I know in my bones. I wasn't rescued. I was recognized. I still take notes. I still make coffee at 7:25. I also sit at tables I used to mop under and say things that matter. My mom walks slow laps on a roof where tomatoes lean toward the light. And when I catch my reflection in those elevator doors, I see someone who kept her spine and learned how to accept help without handing over her name, you know what I mean? If you're waiting for the last page, it hasn't been written. There's a ring in a drawer somewhere, because timing matters. There are workers in our clinics getting checked before something becomes a catastrophe. There is a rival who will try something again, because people like that don't learn the easy way. And there is us two imperfect people making a choice every day to be transparent, to keep the guardrails up, to do the work, and to ask the question that keeps the comment section arguing in circles. Is a relationship like ours inherently wrong, even with ethics walls, or is it just easier to believe people don't change, so none of us have to try? I know what I believe. I believe character beats pedigree when you put it under pressure. I believe money can be a tool and also a mirror. And I believe if you walk into a room at 2 in the morning and tell the truth, sometimes the door that was meant to keep you out becomes the one that lets you in. Your turn, if you were me, would you have taken that job and the apartment and the chance to push for clinics and wages? Or would you have walked away on principle and told your mother to wait? If you've seen power used well or used to hurt, tell me what it looked like up close. Drop your take below: fairness or favoritism, ethics or optics, redemption or PR. Where are you watching? From what did you survive? And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe so we can keep talking about the messy places where work and love and dignity collide.